Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the January meeting of the Delaware County Jail Oversight Board. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic which is stand one nation under the God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
I apologize for our getting started. We had a bit of a problem with Zoom, but I think we're good now. Administratively, I'd like to note that we had an executive session yesterday to discuss certain matters of public safety and contractual matters. And with that, we'll go on to the first round of public comments, which are on agenda items. So if there's anyone from the public who would like to address something that is on our agenda for today, please come to the podium. You have 3 minutes, and please give your name and address to start. Hearing. Oh, thank you. The controller reminds me that we do a few of our board members that are on via hybrid. I believe Judge Whalen is now on. Sean, is that right? Not yet, but joining imminently.
Those are the only two.
Okay, and so we have Judge, I'm sorry, not Judge. We have Raheem King, and we have Sheriff Jerry Sanders joining us via hybrid, and I believe we have Judge Whalen joining us momentarily.
Just joined, so
he is now on. Real-time updates. With that, I will move for an approval of the December minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion for approval of December minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Love.
A second.
We have a second. Any questions or comments before we vote? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item is an approval of the reports from December. Is there a motion to approve those reports?
I make a motion to approve the reports.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. King. Is there a second?
Second.
Love. Motion is second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. All right. We are on to the warden's report. Hello, Warden Williams.
Good afternoon, Chairman, as well as other members of the Jail Oversight Board, and Happy New Year. This is the first official Jail Oversight Board of 2023. All right, we are starting with our typical infectious disease update. Delaware County remains in the medium transmission rate, and we had discussed in last month's meeting that there was recent recommendations that had been updated from the CDC regarding congregate settings, specifically those that were homeless service sites and correctional and detention facilities. We remain in compliance with those expectations. In the month of December, our facility tested 100 incarcerated persons utilizing PCR tests. 0 out of those 100 individuals were tested as positive. We do have 2 positive cases currently. They are asymptomatic and being monitored by healthcare staff. Our total incarcerated population that is vaccinated is 670 individuals, which accounts for 56%. 4 staff are currently out with COVID-19. They are anticipated to return to work this week in a full recovery, and there are no confirmed or suspected cases of monkeypox within the institution. For our monthly statistics, today's count was 1,213, and the remainder of the statistics on this slide are relevant to December of 2022. So you can see that we had 192 individuals who reported for the Weekender program. 16 of those were first timers. All others had already been engaged in the process. We had a reduced number, a pretty significantly reduced number of commitments last month, with an increase in discharges. based on what was coming into the facility that allowed us to really stabilize the population and continue to trend downwards. So we are 5 less than we were reported last month. We did have some relief in population over the holidays. We were actually under 1,200 individuals for a period of time. We have just recently started to climb. You can also see that we have maintained our commitment. In August of 2022, we increased recreation opportunities for the population to be full housing unit recreation. We did have some deviations from that and wanted to make sure that we reported out. Those were due to searches within the facility. If you see a second shift where somebody had a reduced recreation, they had full recreation on that first shift, or vice versa. So throughout the day, they did not have to go through an entire restriction of recreation, allowing individuals to come out of their cell, utilize showers, open air facilities, as well as the phones and visitation opportunities. I always struggle with this. I feel like this year I was hoping to be better with technology, and I've not yet accomplished that task. Thank you, Sean. We had some recent graduations, and you can see on the top picture on December 23rd, we had our graduation for class 1122A. This class comprised of 11 correctional officers, and you can see them with our instructors who are also in that top picture. We have Instructor Loadhole, Instructor Bennett, and Major Richard Leach. On January 6th, just last week, we celebrated another graduation, class 1122B. Another 11 correctional officers joined our ranks, and they were sworn in by the Honorable Judge Whalen, who administered the oath for our staff. We currently have 2 training classes right now. Those that are that started their training on December 12th are currently on OJT, that's on the job training. And we had a class that just began on Monday, so yesterday, 1/9/23. Within this current calendar year, one of the goals and commitments that we have is to increase the sustainability of our training operations department, increasing the annual in-service training. It is very important that we are able to touch base with all of our employees to ensure consistency with our policies and procedures. So we are going to have 1 training academy each month. Our next class, for those that might be listening and may have some interest in joining employment, will start on February 6th. The current class that's on OJT will graduate in a couple of weeks on January 20th. So that's actually next Friday. As discussed previously, we did have support from both the Jail Oversight Board as well as County Council in order to restructure a lot of the departments and add in some necessary positions that are going to increase the efficiency of operations within the facility. That is why you see the large number of vacancies on this slide. These are brand new job opportunities. The job postings have been added to the website. If you Google George W. Hill Correctional Facility, you're able to access the careers tab, and you will be able to directly apply for any of these positions online. The salary information is also included on these job descriptions, and we would encourage anybody listening today to help us with recruitment and getting the message out that we do have some very interesting and exciting opportunities to increase the standards at our facility, and we'd love to hear from applicants who want to join our team. Speaking of our team, we have an absolutely incredible one. So I want to talk first about the picture, the image that you can see on this screen. This is Sergeant William Gallagher, who served the County of Delaware for 42 years. He started in what is, affectionately referred to as Broad Meadows, so the old facility, worked his way through that facility, worked through a physical transition where they moved into the newer or current facility. He also worked under the leadership of many different wardens, many different contracted provider companies. And despite having so many years of service, and he could have very easily said no to joining the team, he wanted to provide his expertise and support throughout this transitional time period for his peers, his leadership, and making sure that there was longevity. He really had a commitment to wanting to see this through. And we had the opportunity last week. It was truly an honor and a privilege to hear from him about what his years of experience have been like. He was able to share the thoughts of many of our employees who had personally and professionally impacted him through the years, honoring some that have passed on. Additionally, he was able to receive both in written word as well as in verbal communication gratitude from a lot of our staff. He helped shape the careers of many of today's leaders within the institution. So though many of our staff actually advanced or promoted above the rank of sergeant, they looked to him for leadership. And he is a reminder that rank and title is not what makes a leader. Anybody can lead. And he was certainly somebody who led the facility very positively over these many, many years of service to Delaware County. We also honor this month Sergeant Kevin Anima, Officer Stephen Hendershot, and Investigator George Rhodes as our employees of the month. And this will probably be the last slide or the last time that I include the 2022 for our jail oversight board presentation. I'll start a new year in honoring. So I didn't want to forget any of those that were named throughout these last couple of months. They've been incredible and continued their commitment and dedication to their positions as well as to the facility and the incarcerated population. I also intend, and this was a slide that we reviewed last month in brief. This is a summary slide for some of the goals that we have as an institution. And each month during the Jail Oversight Board, I intend to provide, like you see under population, a strike through, which means we've actually completed one of these tasks. So each month, we have commitment to make sure that we're making progress. We will highlight different areas of these goals in the coming months as we are doing Jail Oversight Board presentations to make sure that we're giving you updates. So we will continue to provide those facility updates as well as any of the software integration, but wanted to first revisit that it was a low-hanging fruit. It was something that was supported by Jail Oversight Board as well as council. That's how we were able to get that accomplished. It's only the 10th of January. But our administration and operations team has already committed to revising the inmate payroll to ensure that all of those wage increases will be initiated and enacted for the first inmate payroll for this calendar year. So very exciting that we are continuing to make progress. I appreciate slides like this. Not only does it increase one of our values, which is transparency, but it also increases accountability. So I look forward to being able to produce a slide with lots of strike throughs and maybe some additions as we continue throughout this calendar year. Also wanted to highlight that a lot of the changes within the institution we've previously discussed, but wanted to give a broader look at reviewing training. Training is going to be an enormous focus for us, and I know that we can provide some quantitative measures. For example, this amount of persons went through training, annual in service. We will have our classroom portion, but a lot of our focus is going to be on revisiting compliance to our policies and procedures to make the institution safer in terms of operations. A lot of our staff have expressed some of their concerns with the infrastructure as well as the management within the institution in making sure that they can effectively carry out their duties. And we've definitely been responsive to that. And I think that revisiting policy, ensuring that we are consistent with those standards, making sure that our officers have the tools available to them so that they can remain safe throughout their shift, as can the incarcerated population, is certainly going to be a highlight for us. So we are already revisiting in roll call a lot of those standards and expectations to ensure that we increase that compliance. There's been a lot of discussion related to locking mechanisms on doors, and that we have our facilities department working very diligently with maintenance. We had some challenges with supply for the locking mechanisms. We were able to creatively adjust to that to ensure that we have cells that are closed down and not utilized. We also have procedures that require all of our officers to secure the doors when they're not in use to reduce or eliminate the risk of manipulation of those locks. So I think with increased compliance with a number of those initiatives, training, and duty to what we expect throughout the day, as well as making sure we have accountability to our capital improvement projects, we are going to see a safer and more secure George W. Hill in this calendar year. One of the additional progresses and advancements that we had, and this was multiple departments working on this, which is connectivity and increased communication with family members. We have offered throughout at least the time I've been at George W. Hill, and certainly well before I even arrived. So this was not an initiative of mine. Video visitation opportunities. We've expanded upon that because we've gone one-to-one with tablets, and we have started a staged and systematic approach to increasing the technology access on the housing blocks. It increases the capacity, or at least the time in which persons can connect with their family members. These do not have to be scheduled in advance. It's similar to how many of us in the community might FaceTime somebody on an impulse or a whim. So family members need to make sure that they have the app downloaded so that they can receive the video call. There is an associated fee or charge that's 25 cents a minute. And the individuals can, while they're on their housing unit, sitting in front of the station with the chairs that you guys supported us purchasing, make video calls to their family members. We started initially with our juvenile population and also worked with our worker unit. So where a lot of our incarcerated workers are housed, as well as Unit 9, which is our female unit. We started with, you can see the time slots for schedules of visits. Now, you might be asking, why do we have time slots? Number one, we've got a lot of different schedules within the facility. And number two, we are making sure that we're not overburdening the bandwidth of the Wi-Fi that's currently in the institution to make sure we can connect these visits very successfully. We started that right before the holidays on 12/19, as you can see. And just this week, yesterday, we expanded that. So we have added Unit 5 and Unit 8. These are male general population units. We will continue to cycle through and troubleshoot with our IT department to make sure that we can support these services as we are increasing the units that have access to this opportunity on the block. I want to just remind everybody, this is in addition to the visiting opportunities that everyone in the population has access to, not in place of. So wanted to highlight that. You can see 2,044 video visits have been completed between the dates of 12/19 and January 9th. So that tells me people want to have contact with their family. And I appreciate that we were able to at least introduce this concept, though we are not full-fledged prior to the holidays, being able to get some connectivity. And I certainly look forward to the future of these initiatives. In terms of cost recovery, you'll see on the right-hand column, these are year-to-date. This will end, so those totals will be the calendar year of 2022. And you can see the monthly expenditures that we have had. That lower row is what was deposited to the Inmate Welfare Fund for individuals who were discharged with less than $1 on their account. And then something that I don't believe was discussed previously, but has been in practice and I think is worthy of discussion. The Inmate Welfare Fund has typically been utilized to supplement supplies or materials within the institution. And since I had been appointed to the position, I have come to this board with a variety of one-time requests for different items, many of which we have completely fulfilled, some which are still staging in, like the video visitation chairs. We wanted to, in advance, let it be known that though these items are in practice, it's worth maybe discussing within a public setting, the allocation or request for the funds from the Inmate Welfare Fund to support some of these services. So additional recreation supplies like basketballs, they do go through these pretty quickly. They deflate or they become run down because it's on cement within the recreation yards. Additional games, we lose pieces, unfortunately. Newspapers, bus tokens, indigent kits for those that do not have money on their accounts and still need to have additional hygiene supplies provided to them, and then barbering supplies. You can see the monthly estimated ask. We will not spend it if we do not need it. So this would be a not to exceed amount, but we would be requesting for consideration. Each of these is under the $25,000 procurement, and these are already set up with vendors that are utilized by the facility. Again, this has been a standing practice, but I again don't believe it's been with the awareness of the Jail Oversight Board. So that is for your consideration today as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, Warden, why don't we pause there just to see if there are any questions or comments from board members. It doesn't seem as if this is something that we would need to formally approve in light of the lower level, but if there's any input that folks would like to give. Anyone on Zoom? All right.
No, thank you.
Wonderful. And for now, I would like to reserve the opportunity for anything we can either revisit a slide if you'd like to go back to, or if you have any questions for me before we do our program review for 2022 with Deputy Warden Falley.
Any questions or comments from board members? Ms. Love.
I just have a question regarding the video calls. Are the time slots fully utilized? Are the residents asking for more? I'm just curious how those amounts are working out with the folks using it.
So they are not fully utilized at this present moment, and the population is requesting additional times. So we added evening slots for our juvenile population. We have evening slots for our worker unit, and we're working to expand those. Again, it's a bit of a capacity issue and a staffing. These do require monitoring as well. So we need to make sure that as we are adding in this resource that we can appropriately manage or monitor it. I believe that the request will continue to be for more. So a lot of what the incarcerated population has stated is that they have family members that work sometimes during the day, which does not make it as feasible or available. The holidays did provide some respite or opportunity because lots of people were able to maybe spend additional time with family or at home. But we do need to evaluate. We're still so new in this. That we're going to keep a few months of really looking at these time slots to determine where our opportunities are to increase the engagement.
So the time isn't fully utilized. It's just a matter of adjusting the schedule.
Yes.
Thanks.
I also have a question on the tablets. How have they held up thus far in terms of durability? Have there been pretty material issues with regard to them getting broken or needing repair or replacement?
I would say that we've had a fair amount that have required some repair or replacement. Usually that's related to charging capacity issues, though I certainly am welcome to be corrected. We have an accountability process and the vendor is able to replace those. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. Thankfully, though, when we quoted it with the organization, we requested more than our current population is. So we're still able to support a 1-to-1 ratio with our current population.
Other questions or comments from board members? I just wanted to say again my appreciation to Judge Whalen for making it out to the jail to recognize those who are graduating from the academies. I'm sure it means a lot to them to have gone through the program and to be honored that way. So thank you, Judge Whalen, again.
Well, you're welcome. It's my honor to be out there and part of the presentation, and I thank Warden Williams for the invitation.
Thank you, Judge.
And I do appreciate the goal setting page. I think that's a really good thing that we continue to have throughout the year, both from a just project management and accountability perspective, but as you said, from a transparency perspective, it's important that we remind folks of what we have tasked ourselves with, and that we hold ourselves accountable to making that progress.
I'm a big person with, we don't just put words on paper, we commit to action. So I can't wait to be able to show what the hardworking individuals in the institution do.
Hear, hear.
With that, I will pass it over to Deputy Warden Daley Fally.
Thank you, Warden. Happy New Year, board members.
Happy New
Year
Year,
one.
Mr. Fally.
Happy New Year. Year one. It's been a very long year and a lot of fun stuff. Before I start, for me, year one was very important to build an infrastructure for George W. Hill and to see what we had. When I first started back in March, I put up a mission statement and core value of how the program will move forward. If those people that haven't visited our website, please visit George W. Hill's website, and in there is a map of our mission vision. The mission of the program support is to provide impactful, best, and promising practices for programs and services tailored to short-term population, to foster strategic partnership for stakeholders for the institution, and to gradually transition our jail population with resources for successful reentry. I had the pleasure to meet several stakeholders throughout this year that want to provide services and we're working together, but we strongly advise people before reaching out to really go to our website to see the core mission of the warden and the program, so we can provide quality, impactful program for our jail population. We redesigned the website in 2022. So all the information, the warden was talking about transparency, and we want to be very transparent. We want to educate our citizen regarding the criminal justice system. We also partner with several Delaware County government agency. I want to thank the Delaware County Board of Election and the Legal Women's of Order for assisting our registering and for voting. This has been a voting year, and they were very, very involved. And also special shout out to all of my case managers who had to meet with the incarcerated population and register them to vote and explain the process with them as well. Thank you for Penn State Brandywine, and be sure we'll talk more about it in a reentry presentation. We initiated the medical assistant program. We partnered with stakeholders such as family focus, mindfulness, to provide lastly to our juvenile population. We initiated a weekly counseling session for our youthful offender. Thank you, Mr. Paul Dickinson. And we also did a lot of community engagement with the food drive to our in Chester. We extended, as the warden said, our tablet for the entire population. We provided several functions such as the law library education program, texting, emailing to our incarcerated population. We invest in education. Thank you so much, Ms. Skruski and her team, Ms. Gaspatri and Ms. Gil-Martin for their hard work in education services. We expanded on our workforce development as well. We are focusing on providing certification to our incarcerated population. We resume barbering. Thank you, Ms. Bowl, for spearheading that project. And we resume in-person religious services. Thanks to all the faith-based service providers to reach out to us to provide our religious services to our population. Last but not least, we enhanced our substance use and mental health program. We expanded prep classes, and we resumed sex offenders classes, and as well as anger management program. And on a monthly basis, we meet with the incarcerated person to provide block grant, which is a great opportunity for all the manager and the executive staff to meet with the population to see what are the issue and resolve them. This slide is our average daily population. As you can tell, our population, we started at 1294 and our population is declining, which is good. Last year we had a chance to meet with the Delaware court system, and we let them about the information. They were very engaging and want to help us out to reduce that population and provide service to our incarcerated person. As you guys know, we do have youthful offenders. Last year, our highest number of youth was 9. Currently, we only have four youth in our population. So we're very excited about that. Our focus for 2023 is to provide program and services for our youthful offenders. As you guys can say, the reason the population is discharged because we provide as much discharges as we have people in. I want to thank the case manager and our record department, Director Booth and his team, and our reentry team, and our Delaware County liaison to provide quality service so they identify resources for our targeted population. So I was talking about GED earlier, and we have an amazing team of GED professional. We currently have 2 academy instructor and 2 test administrator, and they were able to graduate 49 incarcerated person to earn their GED. That is amazing because that is one of the highest number in GED since 2014. Why 2014? Just some background. GED electronics started in 2014 before it was paper. Ever since then, the education department decided to go electronically, and this is the highest number we ever had at George W. Hill. So special shout out to Ms. Kruskate, Ms. Gail Martin, Ms. Kaspari, and somebody. And the administrators.
And I think it's worth also pointing out that that number is on a population, an average population for the year that's the lowest it's probably been since 2014, if not longer. So as a percentage of the population, that's really great progress.
Yeah. Thank you for providing us medical service delivery. In 2022, we did tested 1691 individual with COVID. 667 incarcerated persons were vaccinated, which is about 50% of our population. 95 incarcerated population tested positive for a year, and 207 total confirmed incarcerated persons currently on Suboxone program for 2022. WellPass has been providing approximately 55,000 different range of services. As you guys can tell from this slide, the majority of their services is focused on detoxes and withdrawal. We're a jail, so it makes sense. And they invest a lot of resources on it. Despite the staffing level, they're providing 24% of the sick calls. And then we also do psychological visit, which is 12%, and some psychiatry for 5%. Our medication, our incarcerated persons are very medicated. 64% of the population are medicated. Only 36 have some form of a mental health medication.
Yeah, just to understand that chart, I assume that's of the population that's getting some form of medication. In other words, not 100% of the population.
No, definitely not 100% of the population. Our substance use program, we enhanced it. We enhanced our PrEP program for 2022. We enrolled 611 IP for PrEP 1, 189 for PrEP 2, which are all court order, and 231 new IP enrolled in PrEP. Let's talk more about the substance use demography. 76% are male, 24 are female. 40% of our 2022 incarcerated people were African American, and 53 were Caucasian white. and 4% were Hispanic. The age range, the majority age range for 40% of them age between the age of 26 and 35, and 33% ages between the age of 36 and 45. Those are our biggest age range. And guess what? The drug of choice is heroin. So we are trying to, that's one of the goals, is trying to enhance our substance use program and come up with services to address the opioid epidemic. And then the second one is alcohol, which is 15%. I talk about 50% was opioids, so therefore we start pushing Narcan a lot. For 2022, we administered 1,910 Narcan to our incarcerated population. As some of you guys know, we have 2 county liaisons. One of them is our mental health services. They provided 214 referrals. Thank you so much for Erica Marley and Kim Price. And for drug and alcohol, thank you, Alicia Jacobs and Stephanie Roberts and our reentry team. They provided 690 referrals to substance use program. Now, with every facility, people are going to grieve, and it's part of correction. Our grievance for 2022, there were a total of 1,783, in which 475 were actually valid. And the next slide shows the amount of grievance versus the total amount of the population. Actually, there's an error on that. There's an error on that slide. The total number of population for 2022, since we took over, is 4,899. I'm going to update it after the presentation. And out of that, only 475, and the majority of it is pretty much the 35% had to do with staff conduct, and the rest has 18% has to do with healthcare. Food service was the third one, and inmate properties, in which we're actively trying to find solution and resolve the issues. Religious services. We were able to resume in-person religious services at towards the end of 2022 due to COVID restrictions. So we can mitigate the risk of COVID restriction. In total, for 2022, 1,465 incarcerated population did some form of in-person religious services. Our pastor, she is the pastor and the volunteer coordinator, and she did 174 pastoral visit and had to notify 64 incarcerated persons' family member about their lost one. And then sadly, we only have 3 deaths in our facility last year. Before Ms. Shaw comes in here to talk about the reentry program for 2022, do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions for Deputy Warden Fowley on the board?
I just have a question. I was wondering, have you, I know we put in place a mechanism for sort of sick calls that are when people are not really sick, or they're abusing the sick call process. I was wondering, how is that working out? Is it sort of very common, or is it being effective having a policy in place? That if you have an opinion on that.
We do have a policy in place, I believe.
I'll step in for this
Oh, okay.
one. So I think what we can do is we can actually review some closer data. In principle, when you have consistent expectations that are communicated out, most people are willing and able to meet that. So we have seen a reduction in what we would call overutilization or frivolous utilization of services, which has allowed resources to be more targeted towards those do require. But we'll bring data for the next
I
meeting.
just was, thinking of overall whether you have a sense that it's done the job that you hope that it would do, which would be to cut down the frivolous calls.
Right. And typically we can see that the staffing levels have not really changed or improved within the healthcare department, but the wait times for services have certainly decreased. So that would indicate that it's more efficient in its operations. Again, we'll get some actual data for you.
Okay.
Thank
Right,
you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would just like to reiterate what Chairman Madden said. Great job with the GED percentages increasing, even with the percentage of population decreasing. That's a great job. So.
Yeah, we have an amazing staff. The majority of IP that earned their GED was for one academic instructor, Ms. Martin, and then we added another one. We were fortunate to hire Ms. Kaspari when she came on board toward the latter end of 2022. But thank you.
Great. Anything else from board members for Mr. Fowley? All right. Thank you, Deputy Warden.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Good evening, members of the board and the public. Thank you for the moment to share a few December reentry statistics and upcoming developments. In the month of December, the Gold Ring Reentry Initiative, referred to as GRI, enrolled 2 new clients. And as a reminder for those just tuning in, the University of Pennsylvania Master of Social Work interns meet with clients on a weekly basis, developing and executing reentry plans. The First Step program, which offers supportive workforce development services pre and post release, which is funded through the Pathway Home Grant, concluded its first cohort on Wednesday, December 28th. Participants that have not yet been released will continue services while working one-on-one with a career coach on a weekly basis. For the First Step program, cohort 2 began yesterday, Monday, January 9th, and 9 participants will meet 5 days a week with a facilitator. Weekly mindfulness classes began with the juvenile population on Thursday, December 8th. Thresholds decision-making course resumed one-on-one sessions on Monday, January 9th. Some initiatives in the month of January. The juvenile population will be offered a weekly poetry class. The objective of the class is to provide a tool for self-expression through creative writing. The volunteer, a published author, will highlight formerly incarcerated award-winning authors throughout the sessions. Child and Family Focus organization, funded through the Delaware County Office of Behavioral Health, Division of Drug and Alcohol, will be implementing a life skills and project success course to the juvenile population. Weekly sessions will cover managing stress, decision-making, relationship building, adolescence, goal setting, and cause and effect of substance use. Also in January, for the adult population, an assistant professor at Widener University will be offering a financial literacy 90-minute workshop. The workshop will be offered bi-monthly. A much appreciated thank you to Matthew Krause from the District Attorney's Office. Mr. Krause connected the facility to the Widener University staff. And higher education at George W. Hill will continue as we'll begin our partnership with Delaware County Community College and offer college courses to the population through the Pell Grant. In early February, the female population will have the opportunity to enroll in Introduction to Student Success. The 3-credit college course provides a chance for students to learn and adapt methods to promote their success in college. Topics will include goal setting, time management, career exploration, memory technique, relationships, and diversity. Thank you. Can I answer any questions or offer further detail?
Questions or comments, board members?
Sounds terrific.
Great, thank
Yeah, it
you.
really does. In particular, the program is for the juveniles. It's a wonderfully structured program. I realize we only have 4 juveniles in the facility right now, but it's good to hear.
We're committed to provide them more programming.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Kelly mentioned the reentry programs, and we recently received notification that county will be receiving a little over $1.5 million for two particular programs that will be put in place this coming year. One is for the New Leash on Life program, and the other is for the partnership with the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. Those grants were obtained with the help of Representative Lee. Thank her for that, as well as Warden, her staff, the staff of the Public Defender's Office, Chris Welsh and Lee Aubrey, and Alyssa Mahalik. So it's another demonstration of our commitment to seek resources to ensure the successful reentry of the population into our communities.
Thank you, Director Lazarus. Yeah, I think there's two previews of what I'm sure will be much more to discuss as we roll them out, but they're both, you're right, very exciting programs that we'll be having at the jail.
I'm wondering, as we're going forward, thinking of goals and maybe we're doing this, but there's so many programs that are new and are really being rolled out. And there's so much data out there. It would be good to know at some time in the future that if the people that are going through these programs, whether they really are more successful than, the other people that are there that don't want to belong, don't want to participate or can't participate. It would really help to know that these really have meaningful changes in their lives in the future. So
yeah, I think it can be a somewhat general metric, but
Yeah.
recidivism,
Right.
if it's something that we can actually look at, and again, it's not perfect, but
Right.
if we do see some trends as serves
I'm just
which
curious
programs
how-
lead to better outcomes with regard to low recidivism rates, be helpful to know.
I wanted to capitalize on the opportunity to provide response to that, which is one of the positions that the Oversight Board supported, as well as County Council, is a data analyst and one of their primary initiatives. So as we've been onboarding a number of programs or processes, metrics are not the only way, but they are a way that support our informed decision making and what we support in the future, what we advocate for changing, and what maybe we get rid of and we replace with something totally different. So we will be recruiting for a data analyst, and that will be one of their objectives, to really look at and/or track individuals who engage in services to try to figure out dosage. That's something that might speak to Deb, is what is the right dosage and the frequency of that dosage to assist somebody as they are reentering or reintegrating. So we don't know yet, and it's not a perfect science, but we really do hope that we are building in thoughtfully and future thinking at a much higher level how we can evaluate ourselves, the programs, and the initiatives of Delaware County as a whole.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Good job.
personally reluctant to get overly excited when I see progress, because when I know that we still have so many challenges that we are facing, but these are really great signs of progress in the 9 short months since we've taken over. Thank you, Warden. Thank you, team. All right, with that, I think we can move to any subcommittee report updates, if there are any. Any subcommittee heads who would like to comment? If not, we'll move on to the next round of public comments. So if there are any members of the public who would like to speak to matters that are more generally about the jail as opposed to just items on the agenda, please speak now, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less and give your name and address to start.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert Ciccanelli, 6 East Marthard Avenue in Havertown. I represent the leadership team of the Delco Coalition for Prison Reform. There are 3 matters which bring me before you today on behalf of our organization. The first is our repeated effort to see the consultant's report released. The consultant was paid with tax dollars. Their report should be available to the public. We understand that there may be some information which would necessarily be redacted, but to keep the entire report confidential reminds us of the deliberate lack of transparency which GO used to hide their mismanagement. We ask again that you make the most, if not all, of the report available. Second, it's been 9 months since the county resumed direct control of the jail. A year ago, we raised concerns about reports of cell doors not locking. We were told at that time that this was a hardware issue and special hardware was needed and would take time to install the hardware once it was purchased. Last week, during our quarterly meeting and walkthrough with the jail administrators, we were told that all but 2 housing units have had their doors repaired. We were also told that door locks could be jammed by something as simple as a playing card, and therefore the playing cards have been removed from the jail. That report doesn't truly align with the information that we often receive from officers who work on the units. I would ask each of you present tonight to imagine what it would be like to walk along that upper tier, making your required rounds when a door is suddenly shoved open and it hits you. Also, the men and women that we house there expect to be safe, and that means safe within their cells. We empathize with every person who enters the housing unit. Safety must be paramount. And we simply ask that all the parties get on the same page, that the administration can demonstrate that the cell doors are properly and consistently locking, both to the staff and to the residents. We understand that maintenance staffing is still short, and we simply hope that this repair will be given top priority. The third, and I'm happy to do this, is to relay the content of an email we received from a family member. The email was to thank Warden Williams and the food service staff for having a positive impact on their loved one. It was a real pleasure to share that good news with the warden and with you tonight. On behalf of the leadership team and the members of Delco CPR, I thank you for the positive working relationship which has been established between our organization, this board, and the jail administration. And we look forward to the ongoing collaboration as we all work together to reform the George W. Hill facility. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments for today? Hearing none. Any last board member comments? Yes, Mr. Lazarus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the things that's in the package we received is the budget report. As you look at the end of last year's budget, it's important to note that at year end, we're just under 96%, which shows accuracy in budgeting. During a transition year, that's particularly difficult, given that it was based upon a lot of estimates, includes many one-time costs. So again, congrats and appreciation to Warden and her staff for dutifully managing the financial resources the public's put in their hands. I also want to thank Warden Williams and her team for allowing me to participate as unskilled labor in delivering the holiday packages. After intensive training, I was able to get the assortment correct. The holiday packages included a robust assortment of commissary goods and socks. It was a pleasure to be able to spend that day with the staff, see the camaraderie that exists in doing something that was greatly appreciated by the population. So thank you for letting me join the team on that particular day.
Thank you, Director Lazarus. Controller
I
Phillips.
just, at the last council meeting, county council confirmed the reappointment of our citizen members. And you weren't there to hear me, but I made the comment that it's really been terrific serving with the citizen members of this board. I really appreciate all the perspectives that they've brought to all the work that we've done. Everyone's got a different expertise, and it's really been terrific. And I'm really grateful that you've all agreed to stay on the board. So I wanted to say that in person for those that are here. Mr. Corson's got a family engagement tonight, but his help's been terrific too. So to Mr. King, Ms. Love, and Mr. Corson, thank you. I appreciate all your help and all your expertise and insight.
Controller, you stole
Thank
my.
you.
That's all right. That's all right. But I did want to say the same. I appreciate the efforts over a challenging 2-year period from Ms. Love, Mr. Corson, and from Mr. King. They each bring, I think, a very invaluable, and important skill set and backgrounds to the work of this board. We don't always agree, but I think it's an important quality of any board that you don't all agree at every time. I think it's important to have varying perspectives. So thank you, all of you. Any other comments for today from board members?
I would simply say I'm told by my wife that Brian's birthday is today. She saw it on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, so I do wish Brian, who's been an intricate member of this board, a very happy birthday and a well-deserved day off.
Happy birthday, Mr. Corson. All right. If there is nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.